けど久しぶりにバイブス上げてこう嬉しそうできるスイカ
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And we're back with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, covering the Gojo flashback arc. And remember, if you enjoy the podcast and want to keep up with new episodes, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single episode when it comes out. Now grab a drink, kick back, and listen up, because this may take a while.
You see, you say Gojo flashback arc. We do have 2 episodes of not that, but I don't blame you. See,
it's like
you
a
could
preamble
have just saying it for convenience, but my headcanon is you just hallucinated the arc lasting longer than it did because it should have, and so...
I mean, it was only like 5 episodes long, right?
Yeah, 5 episodes long.
I definitely could have used like 3, maybe that was a little too much. Definitely at least 6.
Yeah, see, the thing about this season is it should, by all accounts, be a 9 out of 10, and it can totally get there with time. You know, it's still trucking along just fine, but we were so close to greatness, and then we just missed it. And I am very, normally I would not be even the slightest bit.
Batch of...
I'm a fan because I think it has immaculate moments. I think it has so many fantastic things about it. But it's that feeling of like you're on the cusp of being absolute Kino. But then like at the last second you just make a few small bad decisions, and then it's not like it's bad, it's in fact great. You know, I'd give this batch like an 8 out of 10 because holistically it is a great experience. But it was so close to being so head and shoulders above everything else, and then it just kinda isn't.
Assigning reasons and responsibility to strength is what those who are weak tend to do. When are you gonna quit making yourself feel better by spouting all this bullshit?
Want to take this outside, Satoru?
Why, you feeling lonely? Go by yourself if you want.
I was gonna say, for 8 out of 10 seems very generous for like the way you were like, damn, we were on the verge of something great, but then it missed the mark. I was expecting more like 7 or 6 territory.
Well, see, I still do love it, and there's too many Kino moments for me to not give it an 8, but it's less this feeling of, oh, I didn't like this block, and more this feeling of missed potential, where we could have gotten like for the first 4 episodes, I was nodding along being like, you know what, this is like a 9 out of 10. This is phenomenal.
I will admit I did have a same or a similar line of thinking.
Yeah, but then episode 5 happens, and it doesn't do what it needed to do. Because I mean, do you want to start with the positives of the first? Well, mainly just the Gojo flashback.
Well,
arc.
before we get into the flashback arc as a whole, I wanted to just first go over a general sense of increase in soul in Jujutsu Kaisen, because it has soul now.
Well, see, that it's funny you say that, because I think it always had soul in its.
Well, okay, well,
directing.
all right,
Like,
I should correct myself. It got soul after the Kyoto Tokyo battle arc or whatever it's called. That's when soul started being injected into it. It had brief little flashes of soul and personality before that, but they did not last very long. They were very often drowned out by generic, typical cliche shonen tropes. Now it feels like it's carving out its own identity, and I've come back around to the Tokyo Kyoto thing. It started carving out its own identity, and now it feels like with this new season that it's either the production, like at MAPPA, they wanted to take it in a new direction. I know that it got a new director, which we'll talk about, or this was the part of the story from the manga that Mr. Gege Akutami was like, damn, I should probably make these characters have a lot more chemistry and be a lot more fun instead of being, basic shonen archetypes and templates.
Yeah, all the characters in the flashback arc. I mean, we start off following, I forget their names because they don't end up
Mei
being on
and
screen for very
Utahime.
long. Yeah, and they have pretty fun chemistry with each other. The white-haired girl, I just call her the white-haired girl. Oh, Mei. She's
That's Mei. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Mei is, hard, cold capitalist. She was always kind of like that. And we get more flashes
she was
of
always
that.
the based one.
The based one. She does think taxation is theft. She has the "don't tread on me" flags in her bedroom. All of that stuff. And her and Utahime are working together to take on this curse
the
that
Chainsaw
distorts
Man
space.
infinite hallway demon.
That's literally exactly what I thought. I had that same thought word for word.
And the chemistry that they have with Gojo, Geto, and Shoko when they all show up, there's like more character dynamic, personality, and chemistry in that one little like conversation interaction they have outside the mansion of Infinity, to then like almost the entire first half of the first season of JJK.
I would not go quite that far. Because I do think that as
then the
season
entire
one
first
went on,
okay, from episode 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen all the way to before the Kyoto battle thing, could you tell me a single like fun character interaction that lasted long, that wasn't just like a fun cutaway thing, that was just like
I thought Yuji and Nobara
I was
constantly Nobara constantly being pissed off at Yuji during episode 3, I think it was very endearing to their characters, and just seeing that dynamic unfold. I think that was the biggest
I was
moment
actually
of
literally going to say
soul between characters.
I was
in
actually
that
going to
part.
say, can you name a moment besides like the brief little flashes of Yuji and Nobara sharing a brain cell where they're like, oh my god, we're going to Roppongi, or like they're petting the demon dog going, good boy, or dancing in that little like non-diegetic cutaway, like, oh no, we're trapped, what do we do?
Well, you do have me there, I'll give you that. You do in fact have me there. And even to this day, I don't think Yuji and Megumi's dynamic is as charming as it maybe should be, especially compared to...
Do they have a dynamic?
You also got me there.
I remember
You also
one
got me there.
interaction. I have memories of literally one interaction between them throughout the entirety of season 1, and it's the when they're on that first mission, and Yuji is like telling Megumi about his worldview, about how he wants to save everyone, as many people as he can, and Megumi's trying to challenge that, and then I can't remember a single fucking meaningful character interaction between them.
Yeah, you do be right, but
granted,
the
Megumi
thing
has not been a character until the end of season 1.
Yeah,
so
well, that's also a thing.
Part of the problem. But here, it feels like everyone feels like a character, except for Shoko, because she kind of gets sidelined after the first episode, which sucks ass, but she at least gets replaced with another female character.
Yeah, but see, the issue is, we see all the characters, going at it, and I know that they're still alive. Shoko's still alive. She showed up in season 1. All of them showed up in season 1. And I know they're still totally
except
in
for
the
the
narrative.
one that died.
Well, yeah, except for...
But he was a fucking...
the unfortunate.
Literally who.
But I expected them to reappear during the flashback, because they were set up, very, very deliberately in a scene where they're all interacting with each other. We have the OP showing them with the most delightful interactions. It feels like we're building
literally
to
episode
something.
1 opens with Mei and Utahime on a mission, and I thought that was just gonna be like our way to transition us into seeing this version of the gang, because our version is currently Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, and then Maki, Toge, and Panda. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be our our new gang, Gojo, Geto, Shoko, Mei Mei, and Utsuhime, and maybe sometimes Nanami and that one guy who died. We're all this is the past version of the current gang.
But they
But it's
don't
not
really
that.
do a whole lot. Yeah, and this is where we
after
get to
that
the...
they're done.
This is where we
And then it
start
becomes the
getting to
Gojo and Geto
issues.
show.
Yeah, so the issue with the flashback arc is that it feels like it should be so much more than it is. It feel like it should be having some wild setups, some crazy stuff going on. But when you actually think about it in the context of the narrative, all I can really say that I gleaned that functions towards like providing greater context to the overall narrative is learning how Geto became racist. and then and that's about it.
I mean, I suppose that's a pretty good thing to learn. We're still left in the
issue
dark of
is-
how the fuck he died in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which takes place between the
Yeah.
flashback and the series proper. Then yet it's still somehow kicking around. I can only
Maybe he
assume
pulled a Gojo.
I can only assume it must have something to do with the scars and staple on his forehead, that maybe he underwent some cursed spirit pact or whatever the fuck, and he's back kicking.
But like the first probably like 4 episodes, I'd say, all feels like it's building towards a much longer arc than it actually is. Where the first 4 episodes, we get introduced to this girl named Amanai, and we learn about her deal. She's basically the vessel that Tengen-sama is going to be assimilating into. And Tengen-sama just sits in like some basement all day and helps out the Jujutsu sorcerers
He
through his
keeps up the
overwhelming
barriers.
power. Yeah, the barriers. That's what it was. And so basically it's sort of a miserable existence. And we get this conflict of whether or not Amanai wants to do that. She doesn't, then she dies. I'm very much abridging things. There's a lot of stuff we can unpack here.
We'll unpack it.
I'm setting the scene
in the
right?
next in the next segment. But yeah, at first she actually kind of does want to be or at least she puts on the airs of someone who wants to be assimilated. Maybe she's just bullshitting herself that, oh yeah, you think that I'm going to just be assimilated as part of Tengen, but on the contrary, you dumb fucks, I will be the one assimilating Tengen, and then I will basically become Rico instead of Tengen, and yet still do his job for all of eternity. I won't lose my sense of self-worth and individuality and self.
Yeah, she's definitely
she's huffing the copium.
bullshitting. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But we get 4 episodes of that, and all that really meant in the grand scheme of things is that Geto watching because a cult was after her, right? This cult that worshipped Tengen.
Well, there's
wanted
2
her dead.
cults that are after her. There's a terrorist group and a religious terrorist group. But I repeat myself.
And so the religious terrorist group, the Star Foundation, something to that effect. I have it written down somewhere in my notes. They want the Star Plasma Vessel. And so, they want her dead because she's seen as impure, and so she can't assimilate with her god Tengen. And they kill her, and, Geto looks back on the people clapping because, seeing... basically worshiping this order, this god, and killing a child in the process. And it's dubious as to how much they are in the know about all this, but at the same time it still disgusts both Gojo and Geto. And it feels like then it should continue, because what was set up is that Gojo has this moment. This probably the single most interesting character moment in the entire show for him. Where in the heat of battle, right, he basically goes insane. Like, he's having, even though Amanai's dead and everyone's upset about that and everything's fucked, he is just thinking to himself, this is the most fun I've had ever. Everything is bliss right now. And he tells Geto, looking at the room of all the worshippers clapping, I could kill all those people right now. I could just
and
they
I
could
wouldn't
just
feel
die.
a damn thing.
Yeah, and Geto is like, no man, we gotta protect the weak. But you can tell it's a bit of a difficult choice for him to make in that moment. And anyway, and then he becomes racist in a single episode, and that's the end of the flashback. Now, what I expected to happen is that we'd have this dynamic where Geto could have became Gojo, and Gojo could have became Geto, and it's this idea that both are.
That's
people...
what they set up at the beginning, and I guess we can just incorporate more soul talk into the flashback talk. Now that we're too far in to turn back. They set up at the beginning that basically their roles are reversed. Gojo is the man, sorcerers are so cool. Why are we like spending all of our cool, awesome power protecting these weak ass, bitch ass humans? So gross. Like it's a waste of time. But Geto is like, nah, bro. The sorcerers exist, the strong, to protect the humans, the weak. That way, we keep the order, we keep the peace, and life goes on.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting idea. And for the record, I love Gojo and Geto's dynamic. Gojo is much more standoffish in the flashback than he is usually. And even outside of the flashback, he's so lackadaisical and seems without a care in the world. But here, he's got that teenager level, I don't have a care in the world, teenage level standoffishness, and thinking he's the center of the world. It's also bolstered
by how much I've already got all this power. This is the most interesting Gojo has ever been, and because this is a flashback, ever will be. But maybe the show will go on to change my opinion of current day Gojo. But this has been his best iteration in the story.
Yeah.
To be like he knows he's hot shit, but he's arrogant about it. Like he is also arrogant about how strong he is in the present day, but he has the youthful arrogance of someone who's like, oh, there's no one who could possibly challenge me. I'm literally never going to lose any battle because I'm just so awesome. And then he's put into a situation where he doesn't die, he does lose a fight, and that causes him to lose someone precious to him and have his ideals challenged because of it.
Yeah, but where the arc sort of loses me is in that. Okay, so we learn how Geto became racist. Granted, it feels a little expedited in its current form. Maybe we could have had an extra episode for that, make it feel a little more fleshed out. But you know what? Fine. How did Gojo get away from the path of being willing to kill people? Because I know it was like a heat of the moment sort of thing, but he's still saying at the end of episode 4, I could just kill this entire room of people. So where's the through line where he became, not that?
I think, because I kind of agree with you, but in the greatest character arc of all time, I'll come to Gojo's aid at this moment. I think where Gojo and Geto differ in their views at this major turning point of the arc is that Gojo, I do believe him when he says I could kill all these people right now and not feel a thing, because he's worked up, he's fucked up about Rico dying and them we don't know, like you said, exactly how in the know these Star Religious Group humans are to the whole jujutsu thing. They're basically celebrating, they know enough to celebrate the death of what they deem is this impure vessel. So that is unfit for their god. So Gojo's like, okay, these people are clearly garbage people and I want to kill them. But Geto is like, even though he's going through all the same emotions that Gojo's going through, Geto, as the one who was originally we gotta know our limits and stand and keep the peace for the weak, for the non-sorcerers. He's while it's a bitter pill for him to swallow there, but he's swallowing anyway because he thinks he's doing the right thing of being the bigger person, because that's what he's got to do, right? But then while I admit all of these next steps for Geto are rushed, uh where we see him in the shower and he's like thinking about the whole thing. It's like, what what was all that sorcery, society, what is the point of the Jujutsu Sorcerer Society if we're standing up for these people like these star religious group humans who would celebrate the death of this girl that we got to know, who wanted to just live her life, man. And what's the good of non-sorcerers at all anyway? As long as there are non-sorcerers among sorcerers, then life will go on with cursed spirits moving all about, people getting hurt, sorcerers having to clean up a mess to save these helpless non-sorcerers who could just have, some of them do have the ability to just become jujutsu sorcerers. And he does get disillusioned to the ideal that, if they want to save themselves, they can just become jujutsu sorcerers, when not all of them have that power. But where Geto starts slipping is when he has this conversation with the, at the time, third special grade sorcerer. The fourth one we find out will be Yuta from the Zero movie, but she is the third one. She was the one who turns out was the girl from Toto's flashback who recruited him as a kid and got him into the world of jujutsu sorcery. So she is apparently kind of like a loose cannon in the jujutsu world. And what was her name again? Like Yuka or something? I want to say Yuka.
I don't think I have it written down.
I have it written down somewhere. Yuki. Okay, Yuki Tsukumo. So Yuki comes to Geto and she's like, "Listen, I don't do missions because I'm not about that sorcerer society lifestyle." She's not as she will not go on to be as insane as Geto does, but she is of a similar school of Geto's thought, but she is of the opinion of, listen, I want to, we're fighting the symptoms and not the disease. We're fighting cursed spirits as they show up, when we should be preventing them from showing up in the first place. So there's two avenues we can take to solve this conundrum. We can either A, teach all of humanity to control their cursed energy, because all humans do possess some, even if a little bit, innate amount of cursed energy. And if we can somehow teach all of humanity to control it and therefore limit the spread of negative cursed energy, then we can prevent cursed spirits from forming. It'll all be right in the world. Or we could just kill all people who don't become sorcerers, who will never go on to control their jujutsu energy, and be done with it. But that's all. Option number 2 is a little too crazy, a little too kill happy for me. So I'm gonna just try to teach all of humanity to learn their curse energy. That's Yuki's philosophy. However, Geto fucked up in the head, and I love this detail that goes on to the directing of this show. While she's explaining her philosophy, the echoing of the applause from the Star Religious group from when Rico died still plays in his head. So it's a constant reminder of the filth of these goddamn filthy monkeys who are no better, will never be as good as us cool guy jujutsu sorcerers. Is that echoing is playing constantly on loop in his head, and he's just absorbing all of the bad things that Yuki is implying with her explanations of her solution. He wants to go scorched earth, and he is like, okay, I see what you're saying, Yuki. However, I feel like it would be easiest and best for all parties involved if we just killed all humans, right? So let's do that.
Yuki surprisingly doesn't push back against that as much as you might think. She's just kind of well,
that is a possibility. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I'm not a criminal, so
no, you just have to think about your own path in life. You got two different choices to make. Do you hate the humans or do you love them? You just got to figure it out on your own, man.
But because he is traumatized by the the whole Rico dying thing and the applause, he's like, you know what? Fuck them humans, and then he becomes a full-on racist.
Yeah, well, there's another aspect of it where he gets thrown into this situation where they're about to kill children again.
Yeah,
Which
well, yeah,
is, by
it's a
the
bunch
way,
of things that are compounded on each other, and
Yeah.
I think are not giving it enough time to flesh out, because both of these
Yeah.
following instances of like their friend Yu died on a mission for these filthy humans who couldn't defend themselves, and Nanami is fucked up about that. He's fucked up about that. Doesn't really hit too hard for us, the audience, because we barely know who this guy is. We just know him that as a friend of Geto, but we don't know like what he truly means to Geto outside of that. We are not given enough time to care about him as a character, because I think he only shows up for 2 scenes for a grand total of like what, 2 minutes of screen time, maybe, if we're being generous. Then he's dead, and then when he's off to kill those kids, which I believe we see a glimpse of, they are the kids from the Zero movie who we see on the
Yes.
big demon night of 100 demons or whatever, and they are the ones he saved. And then he's like, man, these humans who don't know anything about cursed energy and jujutsu sorcerers are telling me to kill this kid because they think they're the problem, instead of wising up to the idea of jujutsu sorcerer and cursed energy and whatnot. So you know what? I'm gonna have my Joker moment, and then he fucking like nukes that entire village and kills over 100 people, and he's like, yeah, okay, this is the right thing. I feel like this is where my path in life should be. I'm gonna be a racist. I'm gonna kill all these humans who don't want to become jujutsu sorcerers. And the interesting thing about it, even outside of that, which is already interesting of itself, is how Gojo reacts to it. Because I think Gojo is not just pissed at Geto that he did it. He's pissed at Geto because he did it in despite all of the preaching that he did before to Gojo of like, no, we have to stand up for the weak Gojo, because he was the good guy at first. But it's like, okay, how could you preach all this good guy talk and then turn around and do that the next day? What the fuck, Geto?
Yeah, but he doesn't, he's like, because Geto literally says, like, you could kill me right now, if you really hate me that much. But Gojo is not able to bring himself to do that, and just watches him walk away.
Yeah, because Gojo, I think, he had his emotions tempered by the Rico event, whereas the event fucked up Geto in the head. This one brought Gojo down to earth. It's like, okay, even despite my my 6 eyes, infinity, limitless powers, I could still lose, and lose people that are close to me, because that relationship that he builds up with Rico is so like wholesome and fun, and just seeing them goof off at a beach and chase each other with sea cucumbers and point and
The
laugh
beach
at
scene
them
was pure serotonin.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then to have all of that like goodwill and energy like built up, like they take her to an aquarium, and it's all Gojo's idea, because he's like, we find out that even despite all of his like oh man, fuck the humans, who cares, man, like we're so cool, we're so much better than they are, and anyone who's like weaker than him, which is basically most people, including probably Geto, he has the idea to give Rico like, all right, Geto, hear me out. If the vessel wants to not assimilate with Tengen, we're not doing it. We'll handle any consequences that result because we're strong enough. But if the Jujutsu Society gets cross with us, we'll get cross with them. If the vessel doesn't want to get assimilated, then that's the end of it. It's not gonna happen. We're gonna give her the opportunity to live her life because she's a person. And Gojo then like does things to get her to appreciate life, which is why like they take the trip to Okinawa basically because her maid got kidnapped, but then they use it as an excuse to goof off because they handle that whole thing off screen. And they have this big day out. Rico gets a whole new lease on life, and she's right on the precipice of getting assimilated in the Tengen lair. because she's taken by Geto down there. But then she's like, you know what? After the day I've had and the people that I've come to love, I don't think I want to be assimilated anymore. I want to live. Nico Robin, I want to live, Luffy. But then in the fucking this was fucked up. Mappa some cold ass sons of bitches for this one. Mappa and Gege setting up, they're playing the ED music, and Gato's offering Rico this amazing opportunity to be like, you know what, fuck this whole Tengen barrier assimilation thing. You don't got to do it if you don't want to. We'll protect you, Rico. We'll let you live your life. And Rico's crying, got tears in her eyes, all red, flushed in the face, reaching out her hand for Gato's. And then bang! Fucking cold steel through the head, shot point blank like a motherfucker. Toji Fushiguro, that son of a bitch bastard, just kills her.
Yeah, literally right on the spot.
And it's like
she is dead for good.
Yeah, there ain't no
absolutely got
Gojo
me.
reverse curse technique gonna bring this bitch back. She just has her brains blown out on cam. Not even like a cutaway to Geto, and then we hear a bang, and then his eyes open and widen, and then we see the Rico falling to the ground. It's like, oh, the background flashes white and she's falling over. No, we see the bullet go through her head.
Yeah. And see, the worst part of it is, and
we're gonna make you.
By the way,
watch her
MAPPA
die.
is well, yeah, but MAPPA is fucked up for this one. She's all over the OP, and that makes sense because she is a big part of the show. But there's one shot in particular that I want to highlight where all the Gojo and all his friends, right? They're walking onto a train while Amanai's walking out, and it focuses on her looking out at them, and it's like teasing you for the moment when she's going to join the gang. It feels like it could absolutely happen, and then all of a sudden it's just wrested away from you. And
it's just ripped away from us.
It's the worst. I mean, it's a great moment, but also the worst.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's also not the first time they've pulled a trick like this, because remember the first Jujutsu Kaisen opening, where we see, what was the name? Yoshiro? Was it? Junpei or something?
Yeah, Junpei.
Yeah, we see Junpei at the end of that one shot, before the final shot of the OP, hanging out and smiling with Yuji and the gang.
Yeah.
Even though he never even meets anyone in the gang outside of Yuji, so we think, oh, maybe he'll become a sorcerer and join the party. Nope, he died.
Yeah, so they've pulled it twice now. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, I guess.
And it won't be the last time they kill an established character this season.
I think I've been spoiled on the... Well, okay, I know who you're talking about now, but... Okay, never mind, I'll shut up before I dig myself too deep.
Yeah, so we kind of glossed over... Well, I want to finish the point about Gojo. And now, because of this, Gojo has his emotions tempered after the wild high he gets of finally mastering his infinity and reverse curse powers that he uses to defeat Toji. So he gets real pissed off at Geto, because he's how could you possibly think this after all the preaching you did for humans? And then this sets Gojo on both two different paths. One of we get a better understanding of why he was so protective of Yuji's youth and allowing him to live it, because now we see where that comes from Rico. And we also see why, despite him having all this awesome power, he's no longer the youthful, arrogant, I'm so much better than these lowly human peasant guy. He's not that guy anymore, because now he's like, well, that I could be like Geto now if I turn out to be like that, and I don't want to go down that path, because that's not good for anyone.
See, I get what you're saying. By the way, are you done making your point so I can
Yeah,
continue?
I'm done making my point.
Okay. So see,
My
I get what you're
20-minute
saying.
point.
The 20-minute point. See, I get where you're coming from, but my counter to that would be, wouldn't it be way better for the through line for that to be way more fleshed out and for you
Yeah,
to
you're
actually
right.
see the struggle, like see the struggle at all? Because you make it sound like a lot happened in him, and sure, it absolutely did. You're right about that, but it's not really emphasized or shown in a way that makes it hit home to the point where it feels like you've been cucked out of something really interesting to see unfold. This feels
I feel
everything
like
you described feels like it should have been had at least some sort of
I
monologue
agree with
or
you up to the
something.
wording of like the use of like cucking, because I don't feel like we've been robbed of a big I don't feel like we've been robbed of like a big like ideological clash. I do agree with your point of it should have been longer. I do feel like Geto, even though his heel turn was believable, the
I mean,
pacing
the
of it.
shower scene in alone, which you had a brilliant caption for. Why does everyone keep bullying me? That alone made the heel turn so believable. Like after that, I was
Yeah.
willing to believe anything it threw my way because that scene was masterful.
Yeah, he just like me for real.
But like I feel like it could, with
It
that
could have gone on
emphasis
longer. Like
on,
my
yeah, it
my issues with it come with like them trying to compound all of the things at the end. Oh, here's the Nanami's friend dying. Okay, I don't know enough about
well,
him.
see, the
So
reason why I used the word cucking is because the first 4 episodes of this are so like methodical with their pacing, so elaborate, and it feels so much like you're going to be in this arc for a substantial period of time, where it gets you like you see the OP, you see how I wouldn't
everyone
say
shows
slow,
up. I thought we'd get more
but
Mei Mei, more.
slow compared to episode 5, I should say. It is fast paced, but like slow compared to the final episode of the arc. It gets you really hyped to be here for, like, I thought this could be anywhere from like 8 to 12 episodes. Just judging from the OP and how methodical it was being. I was like taken aback at how
I had
slow
thought
it was.
this was 6 episodes long because I was just going off of the episode titles. I didn't look at their synopses when I was chunking this block out for the podcast because I figured, okay, maybe like this. I thought this was gonna be 6 episodes long, and then there's gonna be like a 1 episode preamble before the Shibuya arc, so as like a nice little transition out of the Gojo flashback and into the start of the Shibuya arc. Little did I know, it was only going to be 5 episodes long. But I feel like this block, we picked a good stopping point for this block.
Yeah, it was a good. It ended up being a really good stopping point considering what happens, but at the same time, I'm just thinking to myself, it could have been a lot more, and it probably should have been considering the setup and how it gets how it sets expectations for itself before kind of just shoving all the payoff into a single episode. I mean, granted, episode 4 does have a lot of payoff to the elements of that arc, but at the same time,
you know what we were missing? We were missing a Shoko, Mei Mei, and Utahime B plot.
that would have been kenography. That would have made it feel a lot more well-rounded, as well as more Gojo stuff and making that feel more fleshed out. I feel like this could have been absolutely 8 episodes, given the amount of characters it had to work with, and given how methodical the first 4 episodes were as compared to the 5th. I think it had enough elements in it to last that long.
I agree. I do wish it were longer. Just so we could have all these awesome moments hit even harder and have even longer ideological clash. But you know me. My blood is made up of 90% ideological clashes. So
What's the other 10%?
Racism. so that's why I like Geto so much.
So this is why, this is why we're both in this podcast together. We're both brothers bound by our hatred for other races.
We will not specify which ones.
All of them.
I was just gonna say all of them. Yeah, so that's how the oh well, I guess before we move on, we should dedicate a little time to talk about Toji.
Yeah, so Toji is Megumi's scumbag dad, and he's hired by the religious cult terrorist group to kill Amanai. And he's like, okay, bro, I'll do that. It's money. That's based. And yeah, the show does a good job of making you hate him.
Yeah, he's
mostly for just gadding Amanai.
that and also being like not even close anything
Not
near resembling
completely
a father to
unfair.
Megumi.
Yeah, that and like it nails the scumbag aspect of his character.
He's constantly blowing his money on race gambles.
Yeah, so it compounds so many things because it's not even like, oh, he's doing this because he needs the money to live. He's just gonna blow it on gambling. And, completely absent father doesn't even remember that Megumi is his son. He's like, Megumi, who's that? I ain't
talking
never
about
heard of
my
that
demon
dude.
that I named Megumi.
Yeah, he is completely reprehensible and is also willing to kill a child for money. So, as if that wasn't bad enough.
Yeah. Even
and-
worse than killing a child, being a deadbeat dad.
And in terms of powers, he basically he's completely invisible. You cannot detect his cursed energy because he has this curse inside of him that eats all the cursed energy.
Well, yeah, because he also has the
he has
and
the sword.
Heavenly Pact.
Yeah, the Heavenly Pact, and then he has
He's
this
basically
big...
what Maki could end up being if with enough training.
Yeah. And so he also has the sword that has a ton of cursed energy, and he hides that inside the curse, and then he eats
And then
the
he
curse.
hides that inside his stomach.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
just
vor
eating a
going
lot
on
of
with this
things.
guy.
A lot of vor. Yeah, and then he goes up against Gojo, and this is the first time that Gojo loses a fight that we see, which we've already talked about quite a bit. It was pretty hype. He basically backstabs Gojo at the last minute.
And at first I was gonna get a little pissed off because after he backstabs him, he's like, "Oh, like, oh, hey, hello there. What are you doing with that sword, kind sir?" And I thought he was just gonna be like, "Oh, is he gonna beat him anyway?" No, he actually is able to get the drop on him and uses a combination of misdirection and his superhuman speed to trick Gojo enough to bypass his infinity and mortally wounds him.
Yeah, and he literally rips him across the neck. Well, from the top of the neck down in this horrifying looking wound. And you just think to yourself, how is he gonna survive that? It's not that complicated. It's just anime logic of I used my powers because I am the strongest.
I finally figured out how healing works.
Yeah,
Why we couldn't just reintroduce Shoko, our dedicated healer, back into the story at this point in time because we're already at the high school. It's beyond me, but goddamn, we need to make Gojo even stronger and cooler.
yeah, it's a bit of a wet fart of a reason why he came back. He just did. Your idea of having Shoko come back was actually way better. That would have completely satisfied me. But you know what?
Her smoke break was a multi-episode long smoke break.
Yeah, but otherwise it is a good fight. He gets him surrounded by all the fly heads and, gets him wondering what he's gonna do next, and then bam, whacks him.
Yeah, all the fight animation is as great as it's ever been. Maybe
The visuals
even
in this
better.
season are, at least from what I remember, even better than season 1. Like, every cut looks amazing.
Yeah, we got so many shots of characters flying through the scenery, like Geto's unleashing all these different curse dragons, none of which are CG, which is a big dub. Or at least they're not 3D models, they're 2D. So, to thank MAPPA for that. How easy could it have been for MAPPA to just be like, okay, the big dragon guy and the ultimate Mechamaru later on, we can make those 3D models and save us some time and money.
I can only imagine the pain and suffering the animators went through having to deal with MAPPA's schedules. I almost pulled a sputtle there. MAPPA's schedules. While also having to animate that fucking dragon.
But hey, the show is much better for it.
Way better for it, even if a few animators may have died along the way.
May have thrown themselves out of the sweatshops and have been saved by the suicide nuts, which are a real thing.
They are in fact a real thing, unfortunately. But another thing that is stellar this season is the directing, which we paid lip service to earlier. The directing goes so hard in this season. There are so
my
many
favorite shot is the one that I screen capped earlier of Gojo standing in the harsh red light of the church room and Geto standing in the blue of it while they're
that one
by
popped
the
off.
door.
That one went so hard. This is probably unironically my favorite shot in the show. The shot of Gojo carrying Amanai, with the perspective making it so that Gojo's tiny and then Amanai hogs the entire screen. I know it's very goofy, but it lives so rent free in my head.
Which shot is that again? Do you have that one screen capped?
I do have that one screen capped. I can send it to you.
Yeah, because I'll put these ones on screen. Like even outside the direction, just the presentation of the show feels like it's been given a jolt of life. All the characters are reacting to, hey, you remember to put up a veil, right? What? And then Utahime just looking at them all funny. Gojo getting punched and turning into like a deformed chibi. Shoko trying on Gojo's glasses while they're playing basketball in the background, just going like, whoa. Her running away from Geto and Gojo about to have a fight indoors, being like Nigero, and while like in a deformed, low detailed chibi, Sonic the Hedgehog spinning leg wheels.
The animation goes very low detail very often in this season, but always for understandable reasons. Yeah,
Gojo and Geto pulling and like twisting Riko's legs to the point of like actually turning her into a spaghetti noodle because her legs cross over multiple times where they clearly shouldn't.
Yeah, I screen capped that one. I have a lot of screen caps from this
I'm just going through all the screen caps that I posted in the channel. Fucking sad Riko followed immediately up by happy bright-eyed Riko. Cleared my skin, watered my crops, fed my family for generations.
Yeah, like the shots of Gojo flying through the air in pure bliss, I screen capped those because that was the facial expression he makes at that moment really sold the scene.
Oh yeah, that one of him carrying Riko.
There's one of Geto making a really funny facial expression, and I need to send this because it's fucking hilarious. This needs to be like a reaction image.
This is all like of so many of the facial expressions because I remember season two, the second half of season 2 having some really good ones. Like we said in the last podcast for the TV show of Jujutsu Kaisen, not the movie, that it feels like there was a big shift in the tone and the feel of the show going forward. And now it feels like we're feeling the evolution of that. Now it feels like there hasn't been an episode where we haven't felt this kind of like energy.
Yeah, the new director, God, I need to commit his name to memory because I haven't, but Seyong Hu Park. I think I am getting that name.
That's the old director. The new director
that's the
is
old director.
Yeah,
that is. I'm looking at the wrong
Shota Goshozono. All 4 of his syllables rhyme. That's hilarious.
Shota Goshozono. That is fucking hilarious. And like the directing was always good. This directing is just every every
It's going
episode I just
Insano
have
style.
to screen I have to screen cap shots just to acknowledge how Insano style it's going. Like there's this one shot that I was going crazy for in my server where granted this plot point didn't amount to a whole lot in the grand
Was
scheme
that
of
the one where
things, but
Gojo was like seemed very far away?
yes. So this is did you see me rambling about it in my server?
After I watched the episode, I did, yeah.
Yeah. So it's in the middle of a conversation where Geto is monologuing to himself that like Gojo he's getting stronger. There is a gap forming between him and Gojo. Gojo's going on missions alone more often to test his abilities, which means that Geto is also alone, and that builds into his eventual heel turn and hating everything and losing faith in humanity, because at this point he needs someone like Gojo to tether him to reality and realize that hey, it's not all humans that are bad. But because him and Gojo are so distant, he eventually falls to the dark side, the racist side. Or I guess I should say the light side, because the racists wouldn't want to be anywhere with dark things in it.
I thought you were going with the. I guess he should say he falls to the light side because that's the side where the racism is, because it's good.
Yeah,
I like your interpretation way better.
But there's this one shot, and it looks like if this was just randomly there for no reason, it would be such an awkward shot of Gojo very far away. In the background, in the middle of a conversation where he's just saying, "Did he eat too much somen?" Right? It's not, and they're not saying anything deep, but it's because of the context of him seeming so far away that it's awkwardness in such an ordinary conversation of them, talking to each other from the top and bottom of a staircase. It's just so good, and it's not even flashy or anything like that. It's just kind of there. It's a thing, and that energy is there for every single scene. Like in episode 1 where they're fucking Mei is explaining how the power of the curse works, and she's walking past the screen over and over again to represent its infiniteness. Just little things like that.
So there's a lot of good shots that you could take from the show.
Yeah, the directing just goes crazy.
And then even outside of just the Gojo flashback, even when we get back to the present day, it feels like the character interactions got a major shot of adrenaline. But just Todo and Mei, they could just have a conversation about the students they recommended by themselves, but let's animate them playing ping pong so we can always make sure we have the audience's attention and not like drag them too far along with this boring ass exposition.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And
going
then
back to
compound
present
it
day
with the breaking heart of Todo when he finds out he's not allowed to accompany Yuji on missions because he was the one who recommended him.
Yeah, that scene was a delight. We go back to admit this was a really weird decision to just bring back one of Yuji's old classmates who has a crush on him.
There has to be a point. I feel like there has to be a point.
There has to be something, because
there's
feels
no way they
would
dedicate an entire episode to this, and then
she has a good
matter
character
a
design.
bit.
So like, there's no reason not to use her again.
Yeah, I like the. So we get this little girl named Yuko shows up, and she used to be this fat middle school classmate of Yuji's. She then got the greatest glow up in anime history, and became real pretty and real tall, and real thin. And so she meets up with Nobara because she saw her hanging out with Yuji, and she's like, "Hey man, do you think I got a shot with him?" And then they call up Megami, and they have this this great moment where it's like, Megami's like, I think Yuji's into tall girls, and then they just clink their glasses together, and Nobara slams her phone down on the table and immediately texts Yuji to get the fuck over here right now. They have this little moment where they like wait, so you mean you like Yuji that way? And yes, I do. And they're drawn like how fucking One from One Punch Man would draw them.
Yeah, and this was a gag that I found hilarious, where there's one moment where Nobara is thinking about how Yuko is in love with Yuji, and then her heart skips a beat. She's like, wait, no, this can't mean it. No, it can't be. And then at the end of the scene, it's revealed what that heart skipping a beat was. She didn't want to live in the world where Yuji got a girlfriend before she got a boyfriend. And because the idea of that just disgusted her on such a visceral level. And I laughed. That was amazing.
Yeah, and then Yuji saying the perfect thing to seeing Yuko for the first time in so long, being like, hey, you're Ozawa, you're from middle school, right? What a coincidence. What are you doing here? And then Nobara and Megumi just throw up like 10 out of 10 judge signs that they just pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah, it is filled with life. I do still wonder where they're going with that, but
even though
we
that
shall
one
see.
shot of them at the end of the day, and Megumi like is holding on to Yuji's things for him, and he passes him back over to Yuji, and then Nobara's just like, no, walk behind me. Also, carry my things. You're not the type of guy who'd make a lady carry all her things, would you? And Yuji's getting so passionate about wanting to go see in the worm movie, the Who Up Playing with a Worm, the movie.
Worm person. Or human earthworm.
The fourth one, mind you. Don't get it twisted.
Oh yeah, it's number 4 in a series.
Did you also laugh when they in the trailer that they put way more effort into than they probably should have? The guy bashed the one worm dude over the head with a bat, and then as the kids, like the worm kids, started coming out, fucking Ode to Joy started playing.
Oh god, it did.
And it's like, it's, I couldn't stop laughing.
It was a very Kino moment.
It was stupid. It was kind of irreverent, but I loved it a lot. It's the kind of stupid irreverent humor that I enjoy.
Yeah, so after that, we get a side plot about finding a snake, a mole even, amid the Jujutsu sorcerers, where someone has been sending intel to the curse side, and they suspect Mechamaru because he's the only person who is the least bit suspicious. And as it turns out, Mechamaru is the one who did it.
He is the imposter. We did see him vent in the med bay.
Yeah, they did in fact see him vent. And we eventually get a fight between him and Mahito. And the reason why is because this is something I like, where when you first hear it, you're like, that son of a bitch Mechamaru. But you eventually learn the reasons why he did it, to the point where you start cheering for him to win. You start understanding why he was a mole. And, you really want you want the best for him, because what he decided to do was, okay, we got Mahito, right? Mahito has his idol transformation, so he can change the shape of my soul in such a way that it heals me, that I can keep my powers while regaining my ability to walk and live a normal life. So I can, god damn it, this was the most relatable moment in the show, even more than Geto's racism. Was Mechamaru just thinking, I just want to be with Miwa Kasumi in the flesh.
I was gonna say,
most relatable character in the show.
I know the intention of the cut was to be like Utahime was like, and we think that the mole might be, and then Miwa comes into frame and says Mechamaru's
that
name.
I was about to.
I was hoping so badly that Miwa was gonna be the mole, and she's like the secret final boss villain.
I want Miwa to be the final boss now. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, they're like, we smash cut to like the end of the manga. Yuji's finally squaring off with Sukuna, and then as Sukuna is like about to start the battle, Miwa just like stabs him from behind and like cuts him down and be like, "It was me, Yuji. It was me the whole time. I was the one pulling the strings."
And she's
not so useless anymore, huh?
She's secretly the strongest character the entire time. She's got her own Aizen level plan that was unfolding the entire show.
I alone will stand at the top, Yuji.
It's like fucking a dozen Rube Goldberg
No
machines
one will
stacked
ever
on
eat
top
my
of each other.
tangerines again.
Oh my god. That would actually be twist of the century. I would be down for that.
she becomes a villain because she's tired of her friends eating her food.
No, she gets called useless one time too many, joins the cursed team. She has a use after all.
It's her Joker moment. It's a season full of Joker moments.
And so Mechamaru, wants to get his body back. And
so he can put his body into assimilate his with Miwa's. Which I then wrote, well, now makes him Crunchy's favorite character, but also he also celebrated when he died, because now that means he can keep Miwa all to himself.
I did completely understand why he would want a body to be able to cuddle with Miwa with. It's such an endearing motivation. Like, you can't even hate him for being a mole. It is physically impossible. And yeah, that entire fight was probably
I would
my
sell out for
favorite part
blue
of the
hair
show.
anime pussy too. I would sell out my friends for that.
But see, he even made it part of the agreement that Mahito and Geto can't attack the school with the information until they heal him, and then he can take them on and stop them from doing that.
Yeah, and he rules of cools the fuck out of them, because like, how was he able to build that underground mech for so long? With like what parts and how is he getting them? Don't ask questions. Stand in awe of this giant robot.
It was. Well, see, honestly, it makes sense. He can control puppets. They get the materials. I know it's a bit of a stretch.
How did he?
But, like, I just assumed it was like magic or something, or like Jujutsu powers.
It is, but it's also very clearly a technology.
Well, yeah, it is technology. Granted, he built Mechamaru though.
He the human-sized android. I understand. I don't understand how he's able to build that whole thing underwater. When
well, he was just scheming for that long, Neon. You don't understand. Mechamaru is the true Aizen.
every character.
It was written in the cards.
Real Aizen. Yeah, he does get a badass design. He does look like he would be the main character of a mecha series.
He absolutely does, dude. God, it's such a shame that he loses the fight and presumably kicks the bucket. We don't see him
there's
dead,
no
but
way.
I can't imagine.
I will be
being
pissed
alive.
if he survives. They do. We never see his corpse, so there's the possibility that maybe he...
oh god, my genre savviness knows that not seeing the corpse is gonna be it's a red flag if there ever was one. But there's no way.
I want to believe he died. I feel like Mahito is not so stupid that he lets himself get almost killed by this guy like twice, and then he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna not make sure that he's dead. I'm just gonna like leave it up to chance. He probably died, maybe.
Yeah, I was admittedly a little disappointed that we didn't see any grieving process for Mechamaru. It doesn't have to be extended because he wasn't one of the big characters, but I wanted to at least see Miwa like sad for him.
Well, that's the tragedy. They don't know that he's dead, and she's sitting next to a puppet that will never move again.
Well, yeah, but presumably enough time passes that they would sort of get the memo, or at least be like, did he run away? Does he not want to do this anymore?
There has been a passing of 10 days, and we haven't seen Miwa yet in that 10 days, so would not be surprised if there was a bit from the Kyoto students be like, hey, Mechamaru has not moved from the spot in 10 days. What's going on? Can we like track him down, and then Uchihibe's got to be the one to deliver the news? Like, his body's not where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Also, he's
but
probably
at the same time,
that's been leaking information and betraying us this whole time.
But see, it does admittedly though feel a little weird to immediately move on to the plan without any any sort of grieving process. It did
I
feel
feel
nice
like they're
and
saving that
snappy,
for later.
but
They're gonna like throw the villains are gonna throw that reveal in the Kyoto student's face, and they're gonna get pissed.
you know, maybe I'm gonna eat shit.
They're
on this
saving
point.
up for the Miwad Super Saiyan Rage boost.
And then she's gonna be Miwa's gonna try and avenge her dead friend and then trip over herself while running at them.
And then comically like roll up in a way that she like becomes a human wheel in like a perfect circle that spins into like all her friends and knock them all over.
She's gonna have her
With
badass
bowling
moment,
ball and
but
bowling
then
pin sound effects.
she's gonna try and have her badass moment, but then oops, someone left a banana peel on the ground and she slips on it.
I mean, what does it say about Miwa when the most badass moment she gets in the show, she's not even really there for? It's all diegetic or non-diegetic rather.
Which moment are you talking about?
Where Mechamaru, when Mahito draws Mechamaru into his domain expansion, and he's like, "Ha, I've got you, I've won, I've defeated you." But then as his back is turned, he's walking away. Mechamaru's like, "Not yet, I've got one more trick up my sleeve." And it turns out he knows. Presumably he learned it from watching Miwa, the new Shadow Style simple domain technique.
Oh yeah,
which
the simple domain thing.
Yeah, which it is the
But
counter
that's not
to
even
domain
really
expansion.
badass on her end. It's badass on Mechamaru's end.
Well, the cut that the animation that we see of Miwa drawing out the sword and then like swinging it a bunch of times, to represent the attack, that like I thought that was badass, and Miwa wasn't even actually there for that, which I think feel like is in character for her.
Now, as soon as Miwa is badass, unless you do a really good job of setting it up, like she's not meant to be badass, at least not yet. You know,
Give
maybe
her
someday.
time. She'll be maybe
she'll have the
Yuji
best
will
arc
just
in
die
shonen
for real.
history.
And she'll be like the last man standing against Sukuna.
That would, you know, Miwa being the protagonist would make the show better, and I do wish I was joking when I said that.
You're saying that because you want more screen opportunities to screen cap her.
Yes.
Without a
She would also be a better
hesitation.
protagonist, but I mean...
Yeah, well, you know, that part's up in the air.
I guess it's a little up in the air, but I don't know. I just like the idea of a completely useless character trying to find use in this world. Like, that'd be a pretty endearing struggle.
Well, like she's not actually useless.
Not completely, but...
It's just the joke that she thinks she's useless.
And that she doesn't end up helping at all.
I'm sure she's gonna... I have a strong feeling we're gonna get a badass Miwa moment this season. Maybe even this
I
arc.
don't disagree with that. I feel like her time is due. But admittedly, it would be funny if she did slip on a banana peel and wasn't able to do it.
Yeah, and then after she slips on it, she does the Family Guy. After a character trips over, they grab their knee and go, ah. Yeah, now that leads us into the transition to the Shibuya arc. We've got the veil has lowered over Shibuya on a Halloween night, and hundreds of people have been trapped in. A bunch of people have been sucked up somewhere, we don't know where exactly, and something about the veil is making them demand that Satoru Gojo enter it. So it's up to the gang to surround the barrier as Gojo enters, and we figure out what's going on in Shibuya. And hey, accidental Halloween special?
It could be a Halloween special.
Yeah,
Oh
we
God,
could.
what's that?
I don't. Let me check the schedule of the podcast real quick because this episode's coming out this Saturday. I'm trying to see when the next Jujutsu Kaisen block we do.
Oh,
comes
it's
out.
on. So we record
November
episodes 8
4th.
through
Damn. Okay,
14
well,
on-
just missed Halloween.
You know, we could push it up a bit. We're set to record on the 30th.
Yeah, that would require me editing it the same day, and also putting out 2 podcasts in 1 week.
Yeah, but think about the Halloween special. Think about how spooky the OP is.
It is a pretty spooky OP, and I do
I am quite
what do they
partial
say?
to the OP.
Yeah, what's the line that they keep saying? You are my special.
I don't know. I only saw the OP twice.
Were you not big on it?
No, I do like it, but at the same time, well, hold on. How many times have you seen the OP at this point? I just need to know.
Twice, because that's how many times it's shown up in the
Okay,
show so far. Well, there's 2 OPs.
Yeah. So the first OP, I'm actually more partial to the first OP's song than I am the second one.
Yeah. I like
the first
visuals
OP is
of
very
the second one
catchy.
the better.
Yeah, I think I like the second OP more as an experience, but the first OP is the one that I'd put on my playlist.
Yeah, but are they better than Kai Kai Katan?
No.
Yeah. That one just goes too hard. Even with CG
You're not
Panda,
beating that one.
that abomination.
Bro, it just isn't Jujutsu Kaisen without the CG Panda and the OP.
Yeah, doing parkour.
If you don't I'm just imagining the alternate reality where every OP just has
that one shot of CG Panda doing parkour on a roof.
No, it's different shots of a different CG Panda doing like different parkour. It's like the thing. It just becomes a trend in each OP, but each instance of it is sillier than the last.
I like the idea that they just keep that one shot in, but they just change the color grading on it, so it's like, you know, like this season's first OP is like very blue, so they just put like a blue tinge over it, but then this new one is very red, so they put a red tinge over it.
Someone needs to cut that now. Actually, God, I need to make that. I need to. I want to actually. What I should do, I should just make a random YouTube channel, then upload the OPs, but with a new shot of CG.
Yeah,
Panda.
make a video called All Jujutsu Kaisen OPs, and then just put in the splice in the panda clip with different color gradients, and let people be like, "Hey, wait a second."
Yeah, it'll be a social experiment. All Jujutsu Kaisen all OPs. God, that would be great. I wonder if I could put that on a bagel for the road.
Honestly, you probably could.
The only issue is copyright, but like
it will get copyrighted. Whether it gets struck and take it down or just claimed, is the question. Hopefully, it's just the latter. Yeah, I'd do it. It'd be really funny.
It would be so funny. Yeah, okay, now I have to do it.
Alright, so yeah, subscribe to A Bagel for the Road to see that magic when he decides to make it.
Yeah, it'll probably have to be after the video I'm currently working on, but after that, I'll be freed up. I can make my parodical shorts. I can make my Jujutsu Kaisen OP with the CG Panda shot.
I feel like that will bring this conversation to a close. What are our general thoughts on the season so far?
So, despite all the complaining I did, I think it's set to be better than the first season. We've just had too many hype moments so far for that to not be the case. It's extremely watchable, still extremely bingeable, and it's just something I'm excited for every time I watch it. I'm like, God damn, I get to watch more Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, this first 7 episodes have been much better than the first 7 episodes of season 1. I'm looking back through my notes. There was one moment that I forgot to bring up that does kind of sour my opinions on how the show is structured. That's once again going back to the movie. Doesn't it kind of feel a little deflating now to build up all of this stuff with Geto and have him, have this really personal relationship and rivalry with Gojo, and have set up this big clash of ideals, only for him to get punked by Yuta, like literally who Yuta in the movie, this kid that he doesn't know.
Yeah, it is a little deflating. the more and more the show goes on, the more and more it feels like you just sort of have to ignore Zero's existence.
But see, no spoilers, but the thing about that is this arc is going to have a point where you can't do that.
Fuck. So now I need to get Pacino to watch Zero, because he skipped Zero, and I have a feeling it made his
now he's gonna be
experience
confused.
better up to this point, but if there's something having to do with him later, then yeah, he'll have to watch that.
Let's just say a certain someone's coming back from, what the fuck did he go, Zimbabwe or some shit? Kenya?
A certain, well, I wonder who that could be. There's only 2 possible people it could be.
That's right, Miguel's coming back, boys!
I'm so happy! Miguel! Yeah, it's definitely you.
One aside real quick. I know this doesn't have much to do with the podcast, but I'll have to show it to you afterwards. This is a hilarious video I found on YouTube where it says proof that Gojo is racist, and it's just a clip of him performing Hollow Purple on Toji and killing him, being like, when fighting a white guy, go like one-shots him immediately. When fighting a Gojo and fighting a black guy, and it shows the clip of him like beating the shit out of him, throwing hands with Miguel and pummeling him.
That's amazing.
And it's like and it's set to like trap music. I'll just send it to you after the podcast.
Which Jujutsu Kaisen character is the most racist? In top place we have Geto. In second place we have Gojo. And they're neck and neck.
Okay, new Castaway anime idea: ranking the Jujutsu Kaisen characters based on how racist we think they are. How likely they are to say the N-word.
You know, I feel like if you put Nobara in a COD lobby, I think she would be dropping some N-bombs. I'm just saying.
You're absolutely right. You are 100% right.
Well, this has gone on 5 minutes longer than I thought it would, but no, we had some peak content there.
Yeah, we have enough minutes to classify this outro as an outro. Yeah, very much excited for the rest of the Shibuya arc in season 2. And if you want to follow along with us, viewers, if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, then please be sure to like the video, head on down to the comments, let us know what you think of Jujutsu Kaisen so far, how do you feel about the season, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an episode of the next podcast. We've got the fall seasonal impressions podcast coming up next weekend, over the next 2 weekends, so get excited for that. Lots of fun things on the horizon. That'll do her this episode. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.